Have you ever looked around your life and felt heavy? Not because of one big thing, but because of everything. The clutter in your home, the endless to-do lists, the constant notifications. It all builds up until one day you realize you're surrounded by so much, and yet you feel empty. I used to think that if I just got more organized, more efficient, I'd feel better. But no matter how much I cleaned, planned, or purchased that one last thing, something still felt off, like I was chasing order in a world that never really slows down. And then I stumbled upon Japanese minimalism. At first I thought it was just about owning fewer things, white walls, tidy shelves, quiet spaces. But it's not. It's a deep, sometimes uncomfortable philosophy that gently asks us to reconsider everything, what we own, what we hold on to, and why we believe more will make us happy. This way of living doesn't promise perfection, but it does offer something rare, freedom. The kind that doesn't come from having more, but from needing less. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by your own life, maybe this philosophy arrived just in time. Lesson 1. You own more than you need. Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you opened your closet and felt peace? Not just because it was tidy, but because everything inside truly served you. No guilt, no clutter, no, maybe I'll wear this someday. Just clarity. For most of us, that's rare. We hold on to things not because we love them, but because we're afraid to let them go. Afraid we might need them later. Afraid of regret. Afraid that getting rid of something means erasing a piece of ourselves. I remember one afternoon when I finally decided to clean out my closet. It was supposed to take 30 minutes, just shift a few things around. But the moment I pulled out that first jacket, I froze. It wasn't just clothing, it was layers of an identity I no longer lived. Old jobs, past versions of myself, dreams I had outgrown but never admitted. I wasn't just decluttering my space, I was decluttering my story. And here's the truth, Japanese minimalism gently, but firmly, teaches. You already own far more than you truly need. Most of what we keep serves no real purpose. It quietly takes up space in our homes, and more importantly, in our minds. Every drawer stuffed with just-in-case items. Every corner filled with things we forgot we even had. Creates a kind of low-grade anxiety that hums in the background of our lives. In fact, a study from UCLA's Center on Everyday Lives of Families found that the average American home contains over 300,000 items. Yet most people use only about 20% of them regularly. The rest? It quietly lingers, collecting dust and draining energy. Japanese minimalism invites us to ask, does this item serve me today? Not yesterday, not one day, today. And if it doesn't, it's okay to let it go. Not with guilt, but with gratitude. Because letting go isn't losing something, it's making room. Room for clarity, room for lightness, room for who you're becoming. We often think our things are harmless, but every object you keep that no longer brings meaning quietly steals a little bit of peace. Your possessions should reflect your life, not weigh it down. So, the next time you pick something up and feel that tug of, maybe I should keep it, pause and ask instead, does this reflect who I am or just who I used to be? That question changed everything for me. Lesson 2, the power of silence. Have you ever walked into a room and felt your shoulders drop? Not because of anything grand or luxurious, but because it was quiet, spacious, free from clutter, free from noise. And in that stillness, something in you exhaled. That, right there, is the power of silence. But I'm not just talking about the absence of sound. I mean the kind of silence that lives in space. The silence between objects, between thoughts, even between moments. In Japanese minimalism, there's a beautiful term for this, ma. It's the intentional use of emptiness, a pause, a breath, a space that allows the beauty of what remains to truly shine. At first glance, Japanese minimalist homes might seem bare, sparse walls, open floors, one vase, one beam of light. But if you look closer, it's not emptiness, it's clarity. It's what I call visual silence, the calm that enters a room when it's no longer crammed with distractions. And once you feel it, you can't unfeel it. See, we're taught to fill every inch of space, to decorate every shelf, to maximize, optimize, personalize. But what if the soul doesn't thrive in fullness, but in room to breathe? Because in that space, something sacred begins to happen. You begin to hear yourself again, no longer drowned in noise, visual, mental, emotional. Your mind begins to settle. You can finally see what matters. You can finally feel what you've been pushing down. In my own home, I used to avoid silence. I'd turn on music, a podcast, background noise. But one day, I turned everything off. I just sat. The silence was uncomfortable at first, unfamiliar. But slowly I realized it wasn't empty. It was full of me. That's the essence of Japanese minimalism. Less isn't lacking, less is space, and space is peace. So, take a moment. Look around the room you're in right now. What's filling the silence that you might actually need? What's speaking louder than it should? And more importantly, what would happen if you gave yourself permission to let silence in? Because in a world addicted to noise, silence isn't just rare, it's revolutionary. Lesson 3, fewer things, more gratitude. There's a strange thing that happens when you begin to let go. You don't feel emptier, you actually start to feel fuller. Not in the way clutter fills a room, but in the way meaning fills the heart. That's what Japanese minimalism teaches so beautifully. When you remove the excess, gratitude has space to grow. At first, it might not feel that way. Letting go can feel like loss, a goodbye to something familiar. But over time, you begin to notice something magical. The few things that remain begin to glow. One cup, one rug, one picture frame, each chosen with care, each telling a story. And suddenly, your space doesn't just look different, it feels different. It's no longer just a place you live, it becomes a place you're connected to. Interestingly, research has shown that people who engage in mindful decluttering, not just throwing things away, but choosing with intention, often report higher levels of gratitude and emotional clarity. It's not about minimalism for its own sake. It's about finally seeing what you've always had. In many traditional Japanese homes, it's not the quantity of possessions that matters. It's the presence of intention. A single bowl might be imperfect, chipped even, and yet it's cherished. Why? Because it's not just about the object. It's about the relationship you have with it. Contrast that with the way many of us live. Drawers filled with things we forgot we had. Closets crammed with clothes that don't fit our lives or our bodies anymore. Decorations we bought on impulse but never really liked. And in all that noise, we lose sight of what matters. Gratitude can't bloom in chaos, and that's where minimalism becomes more than a style. It becomes a filter. It helps you see clearly. It asks, what do I actually value? What brings me peace? What deserves a place in my life? I'll be honest, when I first started simplifying, I expected to feel like I was giving things up. Instead, I felt like I was finally seeing the things I already had. The sunlight pouring in through an uncluttered window. The sound of a ceramic cup placed gently on wood. A quiet corner, no longer buried under stuff, but ready for reflection. When we have less, we notice more. And when we notice more, we begin to appreciate the beauty that was always there. Not because it was expensive, not because it was perfect, but because we were finally able to see it. Lesson 4. Simplicity sets you free. Let me ask you a quiet question. When was the last time you felt truly light? Not physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. The kind of lightness where you breathe deeper, move slower, and feel like your life, your space, actually belongs to you. The truth is, most of us are carrying far more than we realize. Not just in our homes, but in our minds. Every object we keep, even the small ones, asks something of us. It takes up space. It demands care. It holds memory, or guilt, or pressure. And slowly, it weighs us down. Japanese minimalism doesn't ask you to live with nothing. It simply asks, what's truly worth carrying? Because the more we own, the more we maintain. And the more we maintain, the more we lose time, energy, peace. But when we choose less, intentionally, we begin to feel something we haven't felt in a long time. Freedom. I remember the moment this clicked for me. I was cleaning out an old drawer full of cables and manuals and things I hadn't touched in years. At first, it felt like a chore, but with every item I let go of, I felt a strange relief, as if I was reclaiming not just space, but myself. And that's the power of simplicity. It's not about stripping your life down to nothing. It's about removing what doesn't serve you, so you can finally see what does. When your space is simple, your mind can rest. You're no longer distracted by everything asking for your attention. Instead, you connect with the present, with your home, and with your own breath. Simplicity becomes a mirror. You start to see that you're not defined by what you own, but by how you live. And more often than not, less actually reveals more. So maybe it's time to pause and ask yourself, what do I already have that's enough? What would happen if you stopped chasing more and started choosing better? Because in a world that teaches us to accumulate, choosing simplicity is an act of courage. And in that choice, you'll find something far more valuable than stuff. You'll find space, stillness, and a freedom you might have forgotten was even possible. Lesson 5, you are responsible for the energy of your home. Have you ever walked into a room in your own home and felt heavy? Not because anything was wrong, but because everything felt off. The air didn't feel peaceful. The space didn't feel like a refuge. It was as if the walls were holding more than furniture. They were holding tension, and that tension was yours. One of the most powerful lessons I've learned from Japanese minimalism is this: your home reflects your inner world. And whether we like it or not, we are the ones shaping that reflection every single day. Every item we choose to keep or refuse to release carries a kind of energy. Some of it brings lightness, joy, calm. But some of it weighs us down quietly. And over time, that emotional weight becomes physical. Fatigue, stress, a strange resistance to being at home. Japanese culture treats the home as sacred, not in a religious sense, but as a space for renewal, clarity, and presence. It's not about perfection, it's about intention. And when your home is intentional, it begins to feel aligned with who you truly are. I've experienced this myself. There was a time when I'd walk through my front door and feel instantly drained. I thought it was just work stress or lack of sleep. But one weekend, I cleared a single shelf that had been cluttered for years, just one, and I felt different, lighter, like something inside me had shifted. That's when I realized the energy of your home isn't just around you, it's in you. So ask yourself honestly, what are you allowing to stay that no longer serves your peace? What are you keeping out of guilt, fear, or habit? What would it feel like to make space for what truly matters? Because here's the truth. You are the gatekeeper of your home's energy. And when you choose peace, peace begins to grow. Every lesson we've explored, from letting go to finding silence to choosing gratitude to embracing simplicity, has led us here. Not just to a cleaner space, but to a deeper understanding of ourselves. Japanese minimalism isn't about emptiness, it's about alignment. It's about living in a way where your home, your choices, and your heart are all speaking the same quiet truth. And here's that truth. You don't have to carry everything. You don't have to prove anything. You're allowed to live simply. And in doing so, to live honestly. Letting go isn't losing. It's making space for clarity, for peace, for the kind of happiness that doesn't depend on more. And it doesn't take a grand gesture. Sometimes it starts with opening a window, clearing off one table, letting go of that one item that no longer reflects who you are today. These small acts aren't just physical, they're symbolic. They are quiet declarations that say, I'm ready to come home to myself. Because in the end, that's what this journey is really about. Not living with less, but living with intention. Not chasing perfection, but embracing what's real. You deserve a space that reflects the person you are becoming. You deserve a home and a life that feels light, meaningful, and fully yours. So, take a breath, take one small step, and trust that this path, slow, simple, and steady, will always lead you back to what matters most. Until next time, keep choosing lightness, one quiet step at a time.